Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to our very first ever virtual IGF USA. Well, this is not our preferred method of operating and working with you. I sincerely miss seeing so many of you in person. The socially distant solution is our safest course of action for us this year. We've made every attempt to make lemonades out of this and take advantage of the online forum. First, we've expanded to a two-day agenda. This allows us to have no concurrent sessions, and we can interoperate and chat with one another for each important session. We've adjusted our start time to accommodate more panelists and viewers. And finally, we've worked the all-important networking and informal conversation opportunities into the agenda as well. These will come in the form of coffee breaks that you see on the schedule, as well as the closing reception on Thursday night with a guest mixologist. While no one can promise you that this is the only time that we will be virtual or predict when we'll see one another at another in-person internet governance event, I do have some optimism, and it's about our work. This pandemic highlights what I see as one of the truly positive aspects of our community, and something that's undercutting this entire event. Simply put, what else? We have seen an internet that was designed decades ago that is resilient under a monumental shift in usage this year. But what we don't see are pats on the back and a lot of self-congratulation. No, what we see are organizations and individuals and people asking, what else? What else can we do to make the internet more accessible, faster, more secure, more reliable, easier, and safer? We do not accept that what we have today is enough. We ask, what else? This year's program is special, not simply because we persevered and we produced it. It's special because we've tailored to the situation that we all share. For some, the working of internet governance or policy and norms is somewhat abstract, but our community knows otherwise. And this IGF USA shows precisely how the regulatory environment, practices, and norms are the foundation of the internet that is critical to our daily lives, both during and after this pandemic. This is why I'm optimistic that through venues like these, that we strive to improve this one internet that helps all of us work, talk, learn, love, and laugh. I'm excited that you're joining us here the next 2 days asking, what else? I want to take a moment to acknowledge all of those individuals and organizations that make this event possible. And a brief reminder that we welcome you and your trusted companions, the pets of IGF USA. This is a year of hardship for so many, and I am truly grateful for both the financial support and the personal time that have been dedicated here. To our sponsors who have generously donated. Without your resources, we could not host this event, other events, or coordinate with the global IG community. Thank you. We have an active steering committee of volunteers who work the entire year from concept generation to session planning to the Q&A moderation that's happening today to make this event topical and inclusive. Thank you. There is a production team behind the scenes that makes this broadcast available through multiple channels, accessible through transcription, and then stored for posterity. Thank you. For our guests, I'm honored that so many individuals are giving their time to speak with us over the next 2 days and share their expertise. Thank you. I am grateful to the unwavering commitment and tireless efforts of my co-chair, Dustin Loup. He fills countless roles and manages so many aspects of this organization. We couldn't have had a successful event without you. Thank you. And I'm thankful to have all of you here, all of our participants. And to discuss how you play a role in making this a successful event, I'm now going to hand this over to Dustin.
Thank you, Melinda, for teeing up this event so well. I'm just going to take this opportunity to run everybody through some of the logistics and expectations for the next 2 days so that we are set up for a successful event for everyone. So as a reminder, we do have a code of conduct in place, and much of it is based on our collaboratively drafted IGF USA principles, which are openness, bottom-up decision-making, multi-stakeholder process, consensus, transparency, accountability, diversity, and inclusion. And we hope that there are no circumstances in which we have to enforce this code of conduct. But if you feel like there is a circumstance in which our attention should be drawn to it, please contact Melinda or myself, or both, depending on your level of comfort with either one. And so with that, we'll move on to some of the things that you can do to participate in the event as an attendee. So I'm assuming you know this because you're likely watching this on one or the other, but we have both a webinar and a live stream active. And if you are watching on the live stream, it's not too late to register, but if you do register today, expect some delays because we're focused on carrying out the logistics of the event, but we'll get to processing your registration as soon as we can. You'll also notice that we have both the chat and the Q&A pods enabled. They both serve distinct functions. I see right now that the chat is being used for what it's intended to be used for, which is engagement with each other and colleagues and other participants, as well as some of the organizers, including Melinda and myself. And then when you're asking questions to the panelists, go ahead and pose those questions through the Q&A. The moderators and the panelists already have enough going on. They're not going to be able to follow what is most surely going to be a very vibrant discussion in the chat. So if you'd like your question addressed, put it in the Q&A pod. And we're also testing out Zoom's upvote feature. So if you like somebody else's question, you can upvote it, and that will help us identify which questions we should elevate to the moderator. So each session moderator will have a preferred way of addressing the Q&A, but in some cases, we will enable the participants to unmute and ask the questions themselves. So if you ask a question, we'll reach out and make sure that you're prepared to ask that question. You can let us know if you would prefer to have it read off. That's completely fine. But we want to provide that opportunity to make this as close to the in-person event as possible when you would be able to ask those questions yourselves. Another thing is please only log in with a single device because there is a capacity limit on this Zoom webinar, and we have about the number of registrations that is at our capacity. So if everybody logs on at once with multiple devices, then some people will not be able to join. And there are a few networking opportunities in addition to what Melinda mentioned for the reception. We're going to have a coffee lounge where you can join one of 3 different Zoom rooms to have different discussions around the event. You can discuss the previous panel, you can discuss the topic of the upcoming panel, or you can just have a general discussion about anything like your pets of the IGF USA. And so in the IGF USA 2020 portal that's available online, you'll find that link. It is password protected to make sure that only attendees can participate in that. And you will have received the password to participate in that through your email. If you did not or are having trouble finding it, please let Melinda or I or Annette, who has been fantastic help in making all of this happen, and just want to take this opportunity to thank her as well. And so her contact information has gone out on the email as well. So if you have questions, you can direct them to her. And she was even kind enough to provide her phone number. So if you really need to have a quick technical question, feel free to reach out to her. And then for the, We're going to have a variety of formats. There's going to be some debates, some roundtables, some panels, and we just want you to be aware of different processes and prepared to participate in those, including things like interactive polling. So just want to quickly transition into the most exciting part of this welcome session. In normal years, we have an opening keynote that tees up the conference and kicks off the opening session. But with the unprecedented role that the internet has played in our lives, we interviewed people from around the US to hear about a variety of use cases, including healthcare, education, remote visitation for inmates, the performing arts, and even an up-and-coming NASCAR driver staying competitive with other racers. This is an example of communities that we should be engaging as we move forward and people continue to realize the importance of the internet in their lives. So I just want to thank two people in this process who really made this video possible, and that's Natalie Coupe and Jonathan Zuck. And so, Jolly, I'm going to ask you to cue up the video and play it for us so that everybody can hear from all of these people that have relied on the internet over the past several months during this time when we've struggled through this crisis together.
This really kicked in right around March 14th, give or take the dates, when Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, all were very quick to implement work from home. And we've seen in those areas an immediate surge in those localized areas of anywhere from 30 to 65%.
COVID-19 completely flatlined our business. I'll never forget it. It was March 12th. The emails started rolling in. Hey, we're canceling this week, we're canceling next week, we're canceling our weekly Fridays for now.
Opera America closed its office on March 15, and we started to work remotely on March 16.
We were gearing ready to go for a full season, but unfortunately, more important things were happening and going on, and so everything else really took a back seat.
We very quickly coordinated video visitation opportunities for the individuals in our care.
In February, we did 1,600 virtual encounters across the whole system. And by April, we were doing 60,000 a week.
Next couple of days after the 15th, we had Monday off. Tuesday, Wednesday, we went to school and actually did some planning for remote learning. We coordinated the sending out of laptops to students and picking up things from students' lockers because we didn't know when we'd be back. And then starting that following week, we were up and running with remote learning.
When COVID hit, we literally went from 1 to 2% of our patient visits being on telehealth to 100%. And wow, what a change that was.
I hate to sound overly dramatic, but the internet has been almost as important as breathing air, essentially, because the ability to stay connected and be connected in a place where you have to forcibly be disconnected is incredibly important. From being there at 18 days in quarantine, where I literally could not leave my house, to the fact that we have to social distance, to the fact that, traveling is very difficult. What we're seeing is that there was an incredibly efficient way for us to communicate that we weren't really tapping into.
Individuals being so thankful that they were able to visit virtually with their loved ones. They were able to see the inside of their parents' house that they haven't seen in many years. They were able to do a virtual walkthrough of their daughter's newly purchased home. They were able to see family pets and just see different things that they wouldn't have seen with an in-person visit.
Doctors and patients both stepped up to accept and work with this new model of care delivery and make it work. And we've heard only good things from both sides, patients and doctors, about how well it went.
These are all new opportunities to explore for meeting the needs of people who are in great distress. For them, they're sitting there at home The people, their caregivers are right next to them. Their dog is at their feet. Their cat is on their lap. They didn't have to rush around. And it's wildly more efficient to just drop in with people while preserving the boundary between them.
Literally just being able to, plug up via Ethernet and just go and race, and really just being able to race with people, across the country and across the world, whether it's, pro sim racers or Cup Series racers that race on Sunday. And so really being able to compete with them was very big, to be sure that, I wasn't, slacking off, and being able to, constantly be working.
The staff has really found a new way to work together, and in some ways work together more effectively than in the office, where the geographic definition of departments kind of acted as silos, and those silos feel much deconstructed in all the ways we've been connecting.
Network performance, it's been flawless. I mean, and it makes me both proud and so pleased with the investments that we've made in advance. And in the small number of areas where we had hotspots due to just incredible surges in traffic, or we got combined with tornadoes that came through and other pieces where customers really needed the service brought back, we had our staff working round the clock in some conditions that were incredible. And while we were sheltering in place, we had these people on the front lines placing fiber optic cable, putting in new plant, and ensuring that customers were back in service.
We are designing a clinic that will be used for testing for the COVID virus, and more importantly for researching the virus. And we are designing our clinic using origami.
There's a digital divide in our community. We know that, people who are wealthier have access to better technology, have access to better, bandwidth speeds, etc. And that's something that, in terms of equity and in terms of creating a fair society and a more just society, we have to continue to work on to make sure that we have, the tools, that every child has the tools to be successful, and that every adult has the tools to be productive for their family.
There are huge gaps in terms of student literacy skills, in terms of their computer use capability. It's already frustrating to not be in a classroom and not be social with your friends. It's even more frustrating to have to learn online. It's especially frustrating to have to learn online and not know how to use the tools that you're being asked to use.
Yes, I'm doing all telehealth, but that also includes phone-only visits. And so I would say probably 60% video, audio, and then the 40% is audio only. So absolutely, we have a huge digital divide.
Just talking through your ideas, you can't do it in person, at the same time, and it's not as dynamic as it could be. But when we do the next step, which is the full-scale model, it's pretty much impossible to do it individually like this. So actually, our professor even said, if we aren't able to go on campus, we'll just have to wait until we can. And that's a little discouraging, because the whole point of this is to help with everything that's happening.
Part of the pleasure of going to a live performance experience is the crush of people in the lobby before, and the buzz at intermission as people talk about the performance that they're attending. We don't have that experience in the digital platform, at least not yet.
Some of these tools are quite expensive, and to roll them out across an entire university, a major educational institution, requires a lot of financial capacity. And also, you have in the academy still a culture of traditional learning in many places, where instruction has to be in person, and it must be done in a certain sort of way. So for example, in some other law schools, there's a belief that you can't carry out the Socratic method online.
And for us to be now functioning within this interesting new frame, well, we can look at everything we bring to it. We can look at the production values. I can look at my lighting. Do I wear my glasses or don't I? What do I have in the background? How do I look at the camera? When do I lean in? When do I lean back? These are all new opportunities to explore for meeting the needs of people who are in great distress.
And I think one of the underlying advantages of the moment is that we get to experiment without really knowing a lot. because in this crisis, as we are trying new things, we can admit that some worked and some didn't work, and we're all experimenting right now.
And so I have about 50 virtual backgrounds, and I let the kids pick what goes behind me. And so I'm an autism doctor, so they're not always interested in talking to me. So it helps actually quite a bit, because if they're interested in a particular thing, then I can stick something behind me and get them to actually look at, like, talk to me. Whereas in person, they don't always engage with me. So I've actually seen better engagement through Zoom than I did when we were in person.
We love the internet. We love all the opportunities that are coming our way, and we're really open to see how else we can use that. The tablets that are in a controlled environment, how can we bring education into that piece? Like, lots of things.
The mission of our opera companies has been to provide great performances of opera for appreciative audiences. I think right now we are seeing necessity become the mother of invention, where the live performance format is unavailable to us. There is a sudden necessity to experiment with alternatives, and it has blown the doors open.
So it's been a unique pivot for us. I would say that now with the recent spike in cases and people being forced into a work from home model and realizing that they can be just as efficient, as effective in most verticals, that this might become more of a long-term thing.
We didn't really have a choice. We had to take care of people that were stuck in their homes. The government helped us in 3 areas. One was the relaxation of some regulations around reimbursement so that doctors could get paid for video calls, auditory-only calls, remote monitoring, etc. The second was regarding technology and HIPAA regulations. And for the time of the public health emergency, you can use more or less any platform you want to communicate with your patients. And they've said they won't enforce HIPAA during that time. Third one is state licensure. And now 49 out of 50 states have special provisions that they've enacted to enable doctors to care for their patients across state lines. And people kind of like it, and they're not envisioning going back to one channel, which is come see me in the office.
I am very hopeful that our policymakers and our insurers will understand how important access to telehealth is. Most of my families drive an average of 2 hours to see me, and my no-show rate is way down now that we're doing virtual visits. It's almost 0 at this point, because why? I mean, the families now, and they tell me this, they're like, this is great. I don't have to drive 2 hours each way. I don't have to have gas money. I don't have to take off work. I can see you in my own home, right? All of these benefits. And so I'm going to be advocating to payers and to legislators that this is vital to our patients and to our communities. And it honestly is very effective.
We don't believe that a return to normal is either possible or desirable, because we are going to discover some new things that excite us artistically and excite us in terms of our ability to maintain relationships with a broader public than ever before. And we're not going to want to give those up, even as we reblend the new digital activity with traditional performance experience.
Then the other piece of that is getting people who are resistant to it to understand the value of being flexible in how we teach and learn.
What we need to happen now is for the regulatory environment to facilitate that, and what barriers that still exist to be softened and loosened to accommodate the needs and really expand access to people, expand access to all.